Georgia judge will say about the case against former President Donald Trump. Yesterday, the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, admitted she's been having a personal relationship with the prosecutor she hired. She says it doesn't affect the case, but the defense disagrees. Madison Scarpino is live in Atlanta. Madison, critics of Willis want her booted and the case dismissed. But what else can you tell us?
Griff, Willis admitted in a court filing that she got involved with her special prosecutor, Nathan Wade. They had a personal relationship, but she says that she did nothing wrong, says that she can't be dismissed from the case under Georgia law, and argues that some of the lawyers on the defense side of this case are in personal relationships as well. Now, remember, Griff, over the summer when Willis indicted Trump and 18 others in the Georgia election fraud case, some of those defendants insist her relationship with Wade created a conflict of interest. They say he used salary from Willis to pay for joint vacations, but Wade denies that and says they used both of their own money to cover personal travel costs. Wade also says their relationship didn't even begin until after he joined the prosecution. Still, the defense wants the DA disqualified and the whole case tossed. In a statement, one of Trump's attorneys says in part, quote, "Nothing has changed. Our requested remedy remains clear. Dismiss the case and disqualify the DA together with her team in office from any related matters." But bottom line here, the DA's office wants a scheduled hearing on the matter canceled altogether. But the defense says they have witnesses whose testimony will prove that the DA and what the DA and Wade are saying is false.
I don't think there's an actual conflict where a judge can order them off the case at this point, but I do think there are questions about judgment that I would think she might want to consider in terms of removing herself voluntarily and removing the other person that she's hired voluntarily.
Well, Griff, we'll see what the judge has to say, but no matter what he decides, it's likely that it won't put this controversy to bed because right now the Georgia House, the Georgia Senate, Fulton County officials, they're all investigating Willis's actions. And just yesterday, the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee issued a subpoena to her requesting documents regarding how she used federal funding.
Yes, it's steamy.
Wait a minute. Don't I know you? Oh,
Regime in panic, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. Witnesses will testify that Fani Willis lied to the court about her affair with the anti-Trump lawyer who's been hired for the case to work all night on Big Fani. And he's charging you and me. Court ruled on Trump's immunity appeal as it likely heads to the Supreme Court. And Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch joins the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Patriot Mobile is the phone that we use, spent all morning talking about the amount of travel that we're going to do. Big time pre-production trip. We're going to be all over the place in the spring. We're going to be bringing this show live to South Carolina for the South Carolina primaries. We are going to be traveling and telling the stories that the corporate media will not let you see. And so we will break through those walls, and we will use Patriot Mobile to do so. Patriot Mobile powers our company when we are on the road. It's very important to get out of the studio and actually create culture. So much bitching and mewling and crying about culture, but how often do we go and create our own culture? It is important for us to tell our own stories and not just be trapped inside of a studio and ranting about the things we don't like. Let's go take action. This is our charge, ladies and gentlemen. And we use Patriot Mobile to get there. Patriot Mobile is the only conservative Christian wireless provider in America that lets you know that you are not funding the left. Their 100% US-based customer service teams make switching easy. Make the switch today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. Make the switch today. Free activation with the offer code Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a couple of problems here. Okay? There's an issue. The issue that I'm starting to sense from the greater overall political zeitgeist is that they know Trump's going to win. They know Trump's going to win. Right now, I mean, if the election were held today, Trump will get 350 electoral votes. Mark my words. There's a lot of doomers out there. A lot of people are very upset, but I'm telling you, they've got to have like something planned. And everyone's like getting this sense, but maybe they don't. And maybe they're just planning for the Trump presidency to contain it. And that's what I see happening right now. They're working on containment strategies, and they are working on kneecapping ahead of time Trump and his eventual win. This is what I firmly believe, ladies and gentlemen. That panic mode, of course, is set off by the fact that they chose poorly in 2020. Now, they were able to drag and kick and mule their man across the finish line with whatever debaucherous and shady-ass tactics that they used, too numerous to count, to be quite honest, ladies and gentlemen. Go watch 2,000 Mules, right? Like, to begin, you dip your toe into all of the rules that were broken in the 2020 election, along with, of course, wow, COVID just disappeared. Isn't that amazing? That's wow, it's incredible. Nobody talks about it anymore, right? Like so many shady-ass tactics. They wrote an entire Time magazine article about it, how they were able to consolidate people to, and what's the actual language, ALX, that they used? The language to finesse the election. A coalition of people, and a cabal. They actually literally called it a cabal in order to reinforce the election. ALX, help me out here. It's not reinforce, fortify the election, ladies and gentlemen. They fortified it in 2020. And as much as they were able to leverage, to put their shoulder to the wheel and leverage behind Joe Biden, they were stuck with one immutable reality, that they had Joe Biden. And that's the guy they chose. That's the guy they installed. You'll recall that Joe Biden lost Iowa. He got 4th in Iowa in 2020. Joe Biden lost even worse in New Hampshire. Got like 5th. Joe Biden's dead in the water. But Joe Biden was doing way worse than Nikki Haley is doing right now in the Republican competition. Joe Biden's doing way worse than Ron DeSantis did, right? And Ron DeSantis dropped out. Joe Biden did worse than Vivek Ramaswamy in the 2020 Democratic primaries. And yet here we are, right? And they began that rigging in South Carolina. And then, of course, they ended up with a real problem. They installed a dude who has straight up dementia, okay? And I got a phone call from somebody who I really respect, a mentor in this space. And they're like, be careful to not attribute Joe Biden's misuse of terms or mental lapses to dementia. Have hard evidence when you're talking about like signs of dementia, because they are there. Old people forget things. I forget things. I'm going to forget something during the show. Okay. So I'm going to take that advice and I'm going to practice it. And I'm going to show you something right now. And we're going to get into, obviously, everything that's happening with Fani Willis, everything that just happened in the Supreme, in the D.C. appellate court that's headed to the Supreme Court with the decision about Donald Trump's immunity, what that means for presidents from here on out, how that means that we can charge Joe Biden with human trafficking, 10 million counts, how that means we can charge Barack Obama with straight up murder of an American citizen, a teenager, a young American child who's an American citizen. We're going to get to all that. But I want to set the table here because it's really important to like understand how the chess pieces are wildly set against the Democrat Party and what a dangerous game they're actually playing right now. Joe Biden has actual dementia. Okay, so the clip I'm about to show you is proof that Joe Biden like sees dead people, speaks to dead people, is himself like a warmed over, the sort of reanimated, puppeteered meat puppet, right? Like he's not real. He's not real. He's not really there with us. Joe Biden, in a speech given yesterday, no one will ever talk about it. Joe Biden, in a speech given yesterday, said that he met recently with Mitterrand from Germany. This is a leader. Joe Biden is correct. Okay, so here we go. Joe Biden's correct that there was a leader from Europe called Mitterrand. It was a French leader, not a German leader. And Mitterrand died in 1996. That's a full 30 years ago is when the guy died. Joe Biden is having flashbacks, which, by the way, we know is like actually a root inside of the dementia patients. If you go study the actual symptoms of dementia, we'll grab you. Alex, let's grab that list and put it up on screen. We'll talk through like real symptoms of dementia. Like you can see that Joe Biden actually just like actually doesn't know where he is, who he is. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's having like, he's starting to like hallucinate. Now I have the proof, okay? We're not making something of nothing here. Here's Joe Biden like hallucinating about things that happened 30 years ago as though they're happening today. Something you know happens if you've had a family member in hospital, in hospice with this happening. Why does this hit home? I watched it happen with my own grandmother. My beloved grandmother, who I personally cared for near the end of her life when she was dying of cancer. And when she had, major issues, right? I saw it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a major problem with people in Joe Biden's age range. Memory loss, which is usually noticed by someone else. Problems communicating or finding words. Trouble with visual spatial abilities, such as getting lost while driving. Problems with reasoning and problem solving. Trouble performing complex tasks, trouble with planning or organizing, poor coordinating or control of movements, confusion, disorientation. And then the psychological changes are personality changes, depression, anxiety, agitation, inappropriate behavior, being suspicious or paranoid, seeing things that aren't there, known as hallucinations. Play the tape.
People have pled guilty. Right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. It was in the south of England. And I sat down and I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, how long are you back for? And I looked at him. And the Chancellor of Germany said, what would you say, Mr. President, if you picked up the paper tomorrow in the London Times, and the London Times said, 1,000 people break through the House of Commons, break down the doors, 2 bobbies are killed in order to stop the election of the Prime Minister. What would you say? I never thought about it from that perspective. What would we say if that happened in another democracy around the world?
Right before I was heading over to NATO, I sat down with Mitterrand from Germany, France. Here is Francois Mitterrand. His Wikipedia died January 8th, 1996. French politician and president. Longest holder of that position in history of France. So the guy clearly, obviously, somebody who made an impression on Joe Biden, and somebody that Joe Biden is having a straight up hallucination about, which is a telltale sign of dementia. Joe Biden walking into the White House just last night, you can see, not looking very healthy, actually looking a lot like a lost dog, looking scared and looking quite nervous about what's about to happen. And we'll get to that in just a second. Watch. We did an entire episode on the border yesterday. That bill has now gone down in flames because of you and me. Even Mitch McConnell is whipping people to vote against it. What a scumbag that guy is, by the way. That border bill is now dead. All it took was one day of us going to work on it. That's all it took. That thing's now toast. Mitch McConnell negotiated that thing every step of the way, saw the backlash, and then hung James Langford out to dry like a dead limb that's going to be tossed into the fire. This is the kind of man Mitch McConnell is. This is why you should never trust Mitch McConnell. The guy is an operator. Like, he is a cold-blooded, cold-hearted, reptilian operator. So now that bill's done. That's not happening. We'll get to that in just a moment. But we spent the entire day talking about the border yesterday and that bill and the atrocity that it is. Joe Biden was asked about it and said, give me the power to close the border. Well, you already have the power, jackass. Donald Trump used all of the executive authority to close the border, and the number of criminal migrants that entered our nation went down to approximately zero. Zero. Trump had that thing on lock. Very simple. Joe Biden has all the authority already. But here he is yesterday.
You need help. Why won't they give you the help all the time? And now they're talking about the border. It's out of control.
It's not English. I mean, whatever he's speaking there, it's not human English, okay? Joe Biden, at that same stop, they always like trot Biden in there and hand him like an ice cream cone or a smoothie or something. Again, it's like activity hour at the nursing home. He was asked, are you ready to debate Trump?
Donald Trump is ready to debate you right now. Do you accept?
He just said that on radio.
Pardon me?
What did you do immediately? He says.
Immediately?
Yes.
Will you debate him?
If I were him, I'd want to debate me too.
Okay, so these are called Freudian slips. This is when you say something that is true that, of course, you're not supposed to say. So you can hear there in the clip, we should definitely add captions to these clips because it's so hard to understand it. Let's add captions to these from now on, Royce. You can see there in the clip, the reporter goes, are you ready to debate Trump? And Joe Biden, trying to be cute, but actually just straight up through like all the brain fog and haze and dementia and all the disease in his brain, just straight up says, if I were Trump, I'd want to debate me too. Well, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you, dude. Like, actually, yeah. Ooh, it gets worse, man. And this is Joe Biden from early this week at a brewery. I don't think Joe Biden drinks, but you could convince me that he does. After listening to this line, the language of our nation, speaking of the immigration issue, the language of our nation is English. Presumably the leader or resident of the White House should speak it. English, do you speak it? English, do you speak it? Listen to Joe Biden.
The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. I wonder why it's called.
Listen to all the people like, is there an applause line thing? Have you ever seen like the Johnny Carson studio with the giant flashing applause, applause, applause? Do they do that for Joe? Why would anybody laugh? They're laughing at him. It's very actually painful. They're laughing at him. That's what they're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not cherry picking all of these clips. ALX, how old are these clips? Are any of them even a week old? None of these clips are like even a week old. This is all stuff that's been happening that they have tried to keep from you. This is why you sub to this show. This is why you sub to our show. The corporate press are trying to hide Joe Biden. They've gone into containment mode. This is now about containing the disaster that is the election. And it's really special. It means the work that we're doing is actually taking the axe to the root of the tree. Have you seen any of these clips played on NBC Nightly News? Hopefully you don't watch it. All of these clips are from like hours ago or just days ago. We're not going back into ancient history. We'd have to do another 20 hours on the show to show you all of the clips of Joe Biden like this. One of the signs of dementia is you get into these moods, right? And you start screaming. Let me know in the comment section. Do you have a member that suffered from this, Alzheimer's or anything like that? Like just kind of late end stage life deterioration. This is like classic what happens, but it's happening to Joe Biden like a really, really quick pace. So what have we seen? We've seen Joe Biden. He can't speak English. Beer brew here, erstwhile, and everyone like claps like a lobotomized seal. All the libs, clap, clap. Otherwise, we'll indict you. Joe Biden like can't speak English. Doesn't remember who he is. Doesn't remember who he's spoken to. It's talking about conversations he must have had 30 years ago, at least. because he's talking to dead people, okay? Joe Biden saying, like, obvious truths that Trump wants to debate him because he has brain damage. And then, of course, now Joe Biden, like, just screaming for no reason in the middle of a speech. He's just screaming. Like, I hope you're sitting down here. Like, turn your volume down a little bit. Like, listen to Joe Biden just like, ah! Watch.
I watched it before. I watched it as a kid. I watched it as a senator. I watched what happened in my community. It changed everything.
Ah! I'm going to try really hard. I'm going to get away from the microphone, okay, to do my impression. But you wouldn't like this show if I was like, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Benny. It's Tuesday. Like, that's not a great way to do the show, okay? We do get excited on the show, but that would prove that, one, I'm not really emotionally or mentally stable, and two, it may be a really terrible person to listen to because I can't control my voice. I'm screaming all the time. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is the table setting. They're stuck with Joe. They're stuck. I was talking with a former Democrat member of Congress this weekend, and she said there is no process to flip Michelle Obama into this seat. There is no process to flip Kamala Harris into this seat. I mean, I guess you could impeach Joe. Joe could drop out for health reasons, but that's never happened in American history. So there's a Democrat being like, our party's stuck with Joe Biden. There is no switcheroo. It can't happen. It would create a constitutional crisis. And then you really would. You'd have Kamala Harris, which is worse. So they're going to have to ride or die with Joe. Yikes. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you, we must get Trump. Like they're starting to actually like scream in desperation because none of the things to get Trump is working. This appellate court decision from moments before we went live just decided. 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the D.C. appellate court, appeals court, decided on Donald Trump's immunity claim. Donald Trump says, I'm president. My actions as president are constitutionally protected. You can't charge me for my constitutionally protected actions as president. Then you're going to open up like an entire witch's kitchen of horrible prosecutions for presidents for any actions that they take in wartime and peacetime, on the border. Like, that's Donald Trump's argument, right? The clear, case against this is against Obama, actually, who Obama straight up ordered the murder of an American teenager without due process. So, when does Obama get charged with murder? I mean, we're going to check in, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Fitton's joining the show from Judicial Watch. He's the guy who's been suing the Obama estate for records about the death of the chef at Obama's property. The truth shall set you free. Why are they trying to hide so much about that? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a young boy who Barack Obama killed. His last name was Alawaki. And you can check it out here. Abdurrahman Anwar al-Awlaki is a 16-year-old U.S. citizen who was killed by a drone strike authorized and approved by Barack Obama. Straight up murdered in a drone strike. Obama ordered this drone strike, killing this American teenager. Used our military to straight up murder an American teenager without due process. So okay, I guess Obama's next. Who has the balls to bring the case against Obama for murder? And let's bring that case, by the way, in northern Arkansas, please. Let's bring a bunch of cases for Democrats' murder in northern Arkansas. How about the Epstein case? Who killed Epstein? When are we going to charge the Clintons with that? I don't know. Let's hear the defense, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, the appeals court found that Donald Trump doesn't have immunity. Now, there's some interesting readings on the actual case itself, but here's the breaking news.
Important topic. So there is breaking news now from the Federal Appeals Court that has now ruled that former President Donald Trump does not have immunity. This in the January 6th matter that deals directly with the special prosecutor, Jack Smith. The decision marks the second time in as many months that judges have turned away Trump. Now, the trial had been set for March, but it was postponed about a week ago, and the judge did not set a new date. Whether that changes, we do not know.
So Trump's case has been ripped off the docket. They were waiting for this appeals court to decide. The appeals court in D.C. is stacked with Democrats. You probably were never going to get a correct ruling out of that court. Obviously, they are opening themselves up to like really scary times. Clearly, when we bring murder charges against the Clintons, Obama, whatever, George W. Bush, okay, there's no such thing as presidential immunity. Great job, guys. Like, is there an institution you won't burn to ashes in order to get Trump? Now, if you read this appeals court ruling, it's like a page long. Let's pop it up. If you read this, what you'll actually find is a court that's saying, this is a hot potato. We are terrified of this issue. Please, for the love of God, take this up, Supreme Court. If you actually read the text of what they're saying, please, God, take this off our hands. We don't want it. This belongs at SCOTUS. We don't want to make these decisions. We're actually going to make the decision. We're actually barely going to make a decision on this and like kick it as swiftly as we possibly can. Linus style, Charlie Brown style, football, like directly to SCOTUS. Get up that text. ALX tweeted the actual decision. Come on, guys. So, like, it's a one-page decision. It's not hard. It's not a hard read. Go check it out. It's like them, like the actual, like read the lines, read between the lines. The lines are, we don't want this. Go, take it to the Supreme Court. So that's what's actually happening here. And that's exactly where Donald Trump's going to be. This is the judgment there. The judgment is, there you go, scroll down. Okay. Does this look like some type of like well thought out, well theorized, super weighty decision that like changes American law? Nope. You got to read through the lines on this from a judicial standpoint. This is them being like, we are scared shitless of this decision. We can't win on it. Supreme Court has to take it. And it really is a separation of, it's like a massive constitutional question. Can you charge presidents with their crimes? Most importantly, could we charge Joe Biden with 10 million counts of human smuggling and human trafficking? Half of them minors. Not the first time that Joe Biden should be charged with misuse or mishandling of young children. I've seen plenty of mashups and compilations of Joe Biden creeping on these poor little children. Keep your kids away from Joe Biden. I've seen it. Those poor kids, so uncomfortable. Their goblin parents, donors, senators, like allowing Joe Biden to be such a predator. But no, I'm talking about like 10 million cases of human smuggling across the border, which is something that Joe Biden should be charged with like today. Okay, so if you have no presidential immunity, Joe Biden's the guy who could shut down the border right now. He's allowing it. In fact, he's like accelerating this practice. Him and Mayorkas. And so let's charge them. When do we bring those charges in Texas? Right now. Attorney General of Texas is a friend of the show. Let's drop those charges today. Today, Junior. Donald Trump's going to the Supreme Court with this sucker. I wanted to show you the ruling to show you like this isn't a well thought out ruling. There's you're gonna see a bunch of libs like, again, lobotomized seals. Stupid. They're not actually like reading the room here. This decision is a punt. They can't absolve Trump. Okay, so if they absolve Trump, that would mean that the case is officially dead, and Trump will become president, and he won't have to do so from a prison cell. But they also are like so nervous ruling on this because they know it opens up Joe Biden to the 10 million kid trafficking charge, Barack Obama to the murder of American children charge, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton to every murder they've committed. And so what do they got to do? the only way. They got to punt it. Donald Trump, straight to the Supreme Court. Let's go.
District Court ruling that Trump is not immune from any sort of prosecution here. And this just begs the question, Bill and Dana, when Donald Trump will go to trial. The trial was scheduled here to begin in Washington, D.C. On March 4th. That has essentially stopped since mid-December to allow the Trump team to prepare for this. Now that the U.S. Court of Appeals has ruled against the former president, he has the right to take this to the Supreme Court. From what we understand, he has up to 90 days. So it's likely he will wait until that point. But I'm also told by sources in Jack Smith's office, I was told a couple of weeks ago, that it's likely that the special counsel will try to get this expedited to the Supreme Court because he wants to get this back on track as soon as possible.
90 days. Well, what does that put us at? Summer. The goal here, of course, is rush all these things through. Jam them through as hard and as fast as possible. Don't worry, I'm getting into my Fani puns here. I'm going to roll into it, okay? So jam it in as fast and as hard as possible to put Donald Trump in a prison cell by November 6th, 2024. So that Trump has to run from jail. That's the goal. Can't believe I have to say that, but that's ultimately the goal. The way that the court process works is it is supposed to be slow, just like the legislative process. And we are supposed to learn about the case itself and let that case be weighed, obviously, fairly, and thoughtfully and judiciously. That's why a judicious decision is often a slow decision. And so that's what's going to happen in this process. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. We'll speak to more experts about what happens here, but this is the big one. And it looks like they are now going to kick it to the Supreme Court. What does that mean? Well, the Supreme Court's going to take weeks, years, months, decades to decide on it. Who knows? So they're doomed. And that's why you're starting to see Trump containment becoming the strategy for these people. Ladies and gentlemen, there is something that they really wish they could contain, and it is the size of Big Fani. Big Fani's gotten out of control, okay? Big Fani has gone and made a big mess of what they thought would be a real bee in the bonnet for Donald Trump. But it turns out that it's just Big Fani getting spanked in public hard and painfully again and again. And she's starting to squeal. Ladies and gentlemen, Big Fani uses legal filing to take a very personal shot at lawyer who exposed her torrid affair. And now witnesses are coming forward saying they know that Loverboy and Big Fani, well, they've been pulling all-nighters for a very long time. Apparently, they used an Airbnb as a safe house. Oh, it gets so good. Oh, there's got to be cameras on that Airbnb. Can't wait for that filing, ladies and gentlemen. And now witnesses are coming forward to testify that 3 years before Fani Willis, who admitted last Friday that her and Loverboy were indeed a thing, and that she was riding the wood of that bench legally, that now Big Fani, well, she is taking one for the team. And it's not pretty. New details allege that Fulton County DA Fani Willis, witnesses testify that she cohabitated, she lived with Loverboy, despite him being married to another woman, at her home. The relationship began in 2019, 3 years before Willis and Wade said it began, and that Wade, before Wade's 2021 appointment. So they'd been knocking boots, in the southern way to say it. We're southern, right? We're broadcasting from Florida. Is this considered the South, Rolls Royce? Okay, so it's southern. I can use that vernacular. So Fani and Loverboy have been in a torrid affair, home-wrecking affair, by the way, since 2019. Alex, do we have that clip? of that lady talking about it? I want a clip of that. I want a clip of that like influencer lady with the wine talking about this. You got that? Let's do it. Grab that. This is the funniest clip I'll ever play you. It's my favorite clip in the world. This is my new favorite clip on earth. You have to see it. You're gonna love it. Trust me. Trust me. If you're interested in the Big Fani story, you ain't seen nothing yet. All the dad jokes and all the puns I can come up with on planet Earth don't amount to like the glory that is this video. Ladies and gentlemen, it turns out that Fani Willis lied to the court. Fani Willis is now going to be caught up in her own seemingly RICO case. The hunter has become the hunted. Check it out.
Loverboy finalized his divorce so he could run away with Fani. But then Fani and Loverboy got hit with subpoenas and have to testify about their shenanigans together. And when it rains, it pours. Fani's office has a whistleblower, and the whistleblower recorded Fani. And the Free Beacon gave the recording the prime time. The whistleblower, Amanda Timpson, says she caught Fani's aides stealing money. Fani's office got a federal grant for $500,000. It was supposed to go to gang prevention. But Fani's aide, Michael Kufi, allegedly blew the money on travel, computers, and swag. The whistleblower confronted Fani and recorded it.
He wanted to do things with grants that were impossible. And I kept telling him, like, we can't do that, and questioning stuff. He would take me off projects, tell people I wasn't doing what I was supposed to because I questioned him. Because I understood, I helped write that grant. I knew what was in that grant. He told everybody, we're going to get MacBooks, we're going to do that, we're going to get swag, we're going to use it for travel. I said, you cannot do that. It's a very, very specific grant.
So I respect that is your assessment. It was clear to me that you and Mr. Cuffey were not getting along. And I'm not saying that your assessment is wrong.
So what'd Fani do next? Fired the whistleblower. 7 armed men escorted her out of the office. Fani said the whistleblower didn't meet her standards.
Oh, interesting. By the way, federal whistleblower protections are airtight, unlike Fani. And it seems like there are going to be potentially federal charges that she opens herself up to here because the way I understand the law, I lived in Washington, D.C. for 15 years. I saw this go south for a number of people who misappropriated and misused federal funds. That is not a thing you're supposed to do. That is a very bad thing. That federal cash comes with a lot of strings attached. And if you're firing people who are blowing the whistle on it, while you're blowing Loverboy's whistle, baby, you got yourself a big problem. And now, my boy is on the case. Mr. Jim Jordan comes crashing through the frozen tundra of Ohio right now, out of the woods, saying, ladies and gentlemen, I got the gavel in the House. And I, as Article 1 of the Constitution, Jim Jordan, representing Article 1, the legislature, I have oversight of what Big Fani's doing in this federal case and with his federal funds. And so I, Jim Jordan, are going to use this hammer to smash, not in the way Big Fani likes, to smash Big Fani. Watch.
What are you going to do to my friend Fani Willis down there in Hotlanta, Georgia? I'm kind of worried about her. Looks like she might lose her position, her prosecution, her law case. I don't know. Jim Jordan, give us 30 seconds on Fani Willis.
Well, we just subpoenaed her for documents and communications because she got $14.6 million of federal tax money, and there's a whistleblower down there who says they were misusing that money. So we want to know, and this is all in addition to the almost $700,000 she paid Nathan Wade for 26 months of work, the guy who was going to the White House, going to the January 6th committee, going to the Justice Department, looking for ways to prosecute President Trump. So she's got a lot of explaining to do, and we subpoenaed documents just last Friday.
All right, we'll leave it there.
So it's worth noting that what was hearsay, gossip, is now confirmed. Please get up the article from last Friday. Fani Willis admitted the affair. This happened after our show. This happened late on a Friday afternoon, meaning they're trying to dump it, right? They're trying to dump it. got too much junk in the trunk for Big Fani. And so they attempted to hose down this story on a Friday afternoon. Big Fani straight up admits the affair. This is no longer us just like having a laugh. This is something that's real. And this is now really spiraling out of control, ladies and gentlemen. A reminder that Big Fani, while she was running for office in 2020, gave an interview, very pithy interview, where she says, you must vote for me because I won't have sex with my staff. Well, Big Fani found her staff, if you know what I mean.
The district attorney's office in Fulton should be the beacon of the Southeast. It should be the absolute best office between Washington, D.C. and Miami. And right now what you have is a office of dysfunction and corruption, and we deserve better. And I am the right choice to improve it.
Corruption, Ms. Willis, that's a strong word to level against the office that Paul Howard has run for nearly a quarter century. If he gets reelected, it'll be more than 25 years.
You have a DA sitting there that doesn't have the qualifications and the experience to do the job. What I can guarantee you is with my reputation, with my community ties, I am going to be able to attract the best and the brightest minds to that office. You're sitting with someone today that actually wants to make a difference because they deserve a DA that won't have sex with his employees, because they deserve a DA that won't put money in their own pocket when it should go to benefit children, because we deserve better.
They deserve a DA that won't have sex with their employees, that'll use the funds correctly. Let's check 5 minutes later. Fani Willis admits she had an affair with Trump prosecutor Loverboy while trying to learn about his penal code. Ladies and gentlemen. Personal relationship reflects salacious claims that it was improper and insists she started after he was hired to investigate Trump. She's trying to say that, like, this is all well and good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring in a influencer. Love to get her name. Let me know her name. And the best Fani Willis clip. And then we have Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, who's going to, like, sound off on this and a number of other legal issues facing Trump. The best man in the world who we could possibly have booked for this show. But before we get to Tom, you got to play this. Got to play you this influencer. What's her name? A shout out. I want to book this lady on the show. It's incredible. Listen to this woman. Her name's Tasha K. Talk about the real victim here, which is Nathan Wade's wife. Like, why doesn't anybody care about that black woman? Do you know what I mean? Like, Fani Willis goes in and does this mewling, bitching, woe is me thing, using the pedestal of the church to try and clothe herself in sanctimony. Yet nobody seems to care about the home wrecker. Like the apparently it's been going on for like 5 years. Fani Willis has been home wrecking and like ruining this woman's wife and marriage. And how do we know about all this? Because of a divorce filing brought about by this man's inability to say no to the Big Fani. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Tasha K and her takedown of this in a way that I could never dream. I can only sit back and learn. Please, ladies and gentlemen, fill up your wine glasses and enjoy.
What about Nathaniel's wife, Fani? All that money you allocated tricking on a prosecutor, tricked his wife out of $1,400 a month alimony payments, and even took some of it back using the debit card out the same account that he put the money in from contracts he allegedly fucked you for. Where's the justice for this black woman when she's saying I've been married to his ass for 26 years, raised his children, and he somehow found a way to get around the law? They only pay me $700 every 2 weeks, and then he splits that with me? This is the one you getting up on a church podium here to stand beside? That's the problem. Women findeth men. How you in church talking about, when I found this black man, you didn't find him. He's fucking you. Full way up. That's just what it is. And you didn't think that they was going to find out. But I'm just like, where's the justice for this black woman over here that helped to build up the very man that you are enjoying right now for the small price of $630,000 every year of the state's money? Now, who paying that money? We got questions. We got questions.
I love it. Yes. Go in. Go in, Tasha K. You're invited on our show anytime. Anytime. I'll get myself a wine glass. Who's talking about that black woman right there? Homewrecker Fani. Coming in and destroying lives. And she is using state funding. We're all paying for it. Using state funding to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to expose these people. And I can't think of a better person than the president of Judicial Watch to drop some bombs on Big Fani. Tom Fitton joins the program now. Tom, I apologize for all of those puns. I know you are a moral man, and you are a decent man.
I can't top that last guess you had.
I would never ask you to spank Big Fani live on the show. But I will ask you, is Big Fani facing very hard time because of her misuse of the penal code?
Literally, yes.
That's well thought through answer there, Tom. Okay, so I want to start with this, and then I want to get to the Donald Trump appeals. Okay, so puns out of the way. She's opening herself up to federal prosecution here by misusing federal funds and then by firing whistleblowers, which are federally protected. Am I wrong?
Yeah, potentially, depending on what type of fraud is proved. There's a whistleblower, there are allegations, they need to be pursued, as Jim Jordan is saying. The problem is the Justice Department's also compromised since they have an interest in the political success of her prosecution, and anything that undermines that, they're going to be disinterested in. She should be subject to not only investigations related to this whistleblower complaint, but also her handling of the Trump prosecutions, which are obviously political and tyrannical from the get-go. But, we've seen this with other tyrants abroad. Usually there's a personal corruption angle to their big policy corruption, right? They're putting their opponents in jail while also taking money on the side and becoming wealthy and using public monies for their own benefit while pretending, to be the voice of the people as they destroy their political enemies. And we see this playing out in Fulton County, where Fani Willis has turned this or raised the question about whether this already politicized prosecution and effort to jail Trump to help Joe Biden's election is also marred, as if it could be further marred, by her desire to use this money that was being spent on her paramour to further her romantic interests. It's pretty sordid stuff, and I think it should result in the shutdown of the prosecution and criminal, ethical, and obviously judicial investigations of what Willis has been doing. In addition to her lawyer, I don't know if you saw what the immediate reply was to their filing on Friday, but their filing, according to those who know better and can be relied upon, basically the lawyers who blew the whistle on this to begin with, seems to be full of falsehoods and misleading statements. So are they lying to the court right now? It looks that way. I don't know how this prosecution could survive, but, it's Trump. So all rules, the rules don't apply as they would for others. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, I have no idea what Fani's been blowing, but the whistleblower has been blowing the whistle on Fani's misuse of federal funds. Judicial Watch, as ever, is out in front suing now Fani Willis for the controversial hiring of the special prosecutor Can you talk me through that lawsuit and what do you expect to find?
Well, we expect to find the details of the hiring. Not only was there the hiring, but then he was rehired and re-upped each as the investigation went on. And it's funny, the day after we filed a lawsuit, they started releasing some of the documents in that pleading the other day where they confessed to the illicit relationship. So we'll see what else happens. I mean, we asked for these documents. It's a straightforward request. The fact we haven't gotten anything yet and been given the runaround suggests they have something to hide. And you can bet that there will be additional lawsuits, not only by Judicial Watch, but I suspect others, to try to get to the truth of the matter here.
Tom, you've been around the block on these cases since the Clinton era and before, and I guess I would want to lean on your expertise here. I see here on your X timeline multiple tweets about Fani Willis handed lucrative contracts to her alleged lover, law partner. Fani Willis' alleged lover paid for plane tickets in her name. Bank statements show, along with cruise line. Is a Carnival cruise ticket like normal legal practice?
Yeah, I'm not aware of what election controversies could have been investigated on a Carnival cruise line. And
does seem like there is quite a carnival. It does seem like this is, in fact.
So the question is, what is the court going to do? They don't even want to have a hearing on this, right? So their response to these, in addition to confirming the core allegation that they had the affair, they tell the judge, "Oh, you shouldn't have a hearing on this." So they shouldn't be subject to cross-examination, despite putting forward an affidavit. By the way, Mr. Wade went under oath in this court pleading. He filed a declaration or affidavit. And he swore it didn't begin until 2022. When in 2022, it's unclear. And there are questions that it began earlier, and it doesn't answer the question, well, it officially began in 2022. Was the hiring part of getting him to begin the personal relationship with her, the romantic relationship?
I mean, he is charging her.
Shut it down.
He is charging her for 24 straight hours of work, straight through the night, Tom.
But just think about this. You're hiring a prosecutor, right, to do something in the public interest. And when the information's out there that you've been hired to advance a romantic relationship, it means the prosecution's tainted. So was all the prosecution of Trump, in addition to being political, just about keeping her boyfriend employed?
Well, he has a great pedigree, you see, Tom. He's sued to get people's names changed, and he also went to small claims court once to get $11,000 back for some stolen speakers. So, I mean, this is like one of the Nathan Wade. Do not question his credentials, you see, Tom. It'd be racist for you to do that.
And he doesn't want to be questioned about his credentials under oath. So yes. This is where they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to play the race card, as she did outrageously, suggesting that criticism of this conduct is racist, and suggesting that the defendants are racist in her case, which also raises issues about interfering with the jury selection process and trying to taint the jury pool. So they want to attack those who are raising questions, but don't want to have to answer any questions in court. It's the arrogance which may be their undoing, but we'll see. So I want to know where the governor of Georgia is in all of this.
Yeah, that's right. He's found himself in Texas. Finally found a line that he wishes to defend, but there are a lot of things happening in Georgia actually that need his attention. So hopefully Brian Kemp, who calls himself a Republican, can focus on his own state. Speaking of cleaning up in your own backyard, Judicial Watch is based in Washington, D.C. Moving up to Washington, D.C., it seems like there are major collapses happening in these Trump cases in real time. Can you weigh in on what happened in the appeals court in D.C. today with Donald Trump and presidential immunity?
Well, the D.C. court has been compromised by anti-Trump animus, right? And one of the ways, and as a result of that, they're blowing up our constitutional system. by undermining the president's civil liberties, President Trump's civil liberties, and the structure of our government, meaning the privileges that attend to a president being president. And they want to charge President Trump with crimes that he committed, arguably in the conduct of his office. And the argument that President Trump is making, well, that means no president is going to be able to operate independently, and they're going to be worried about being charged as soon as they leave office because the next president disagrees with their policy choices.
Yes.
And so guess how that argument worked out for him with the anti-Trump courts. They said no. And today, again, they said no. Judge Chutkan had said, no, you can be prosecuted for anything you did as a president if the DOJ wants to throw you in jail. It doesn't matter if you were doing it in the course of your duties and responsibilities as president. And the left-wing appellate court upheld that decision. So the question is President Trump going to seek a full review of the appeals court, or will he go straight to the Supreme Court? I suspect he'll seek a full review. But it highlights that this anti-Trump court is now willing to set up rules, thinking it will only apply to Trump. But under their theory of the case, we can prosecute Obama for Fast and Furious, for assassinating that U.S. citizen abroad, the terrorist Anwar al-Awlaki. For targeting Trump, he can be prosecuted. So all bets are off in that regard. And if Trump, and as we say in this tweet here, if Trump can be prosecuted, it's not so can Obama. Obama must be prosecuted. Because if those are going to be the new rules, they need to be applied forthwith.
What about a attorney general in, let's say, Midland, some DA in Midland, Texas, bringing in his jurisdiction cases against Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas for 10 million charges of human smuggling, child smuggling? Seems to be something that is absolutely going to be happening forthwith.
Yes, and under that theory of the case, I don't think they have to wait for the president to leave office before they begin their prosecutions. Right?
Let's go now.
Yeah. Because to me, if you can be charged a day after you leave office for acts that you were engaged in office, what's the distinction in terms of waiting? So you're right. And certainly state attorney generals after Biden leaves office in the least can begin prosecutions for any alleged violations of state law. But, this is in many ways, I say that's what the left wants to set up. The left wants to destroy the country, Benny, right? Mm. And so what better way to do that than to destroy our separation of powers in our constitutional system and to make any president worried about going to jail at any time? The commies love that type of chaos. So we're complaining about what might happen. They see it as a feature to be embraced.
And that is the feature, not the bug. They can then control a president through extrajudicial processes by saying, well, you wouldn't want to be you shut down travel from terrorist hotbeds. You wouldn't want to be prosecuted for that, would you? Children in cages, you wouldn't want to be charged with that, do you? We'll of course manufacture the story, wrap up smear, and then we'll make sure that you're prosecuted while in office. This actually seems like a great tactic if you really do hate the country.
Yeah, and by the way, this is the same court that the Senate Biden border invasion bill wants to give exclusive jurisdiction in terms of handling any disputes about the invasion.
Yes.
So yes, this is what we can expect. Purely political decisions. And the court really up here in D.C., because it used to be a relatively respected court, has been completely ruined by its anti-Trump animus. And it undermines not only our Constitution because of the attack on the executive branch and the president and his ability to do his job, but, we want the courts to have some respect. They're part of the Constitution, too. And if they've just kind of thrown in their lot with the Democratic Party and partisans and ideologues, and then they can't be trusted to look at these cases in even a moderately disinterested way, that's also damaging.
So I want to get your handicap on the case before the Supreme Court when it comes to ripping Trump's name off the ballot. It obviously made a ton of news. Everyone loved to report it, but that's seems to be so blatantly. It seems like it could be a 9-0 decision. I don't know. What do you think?
I would think it's going to be a majority in favor of President Trump. Judicial Watch filed an amicus brief opposing this, again, highlighting the absurdities that it will lead to. And I guess we should be admitting again that maybe they want all of that craziness to happen, where the whole elections, all of our elections are shut down. Because I tell you, Benny, if the Supreme Court rules any way other than the way it should, which is to say that the 14th Amendment doesn't apply to the president, and certainly no due process be given to the president to kind of just summarily throw him off the ballots and leave him otherwise on. If the rule is you could be thrown off the ballot by a state election official's interpretation of your eligibility being a presidential candidate, all bets are off. You can bet there will be many moves to take President Biden off the ballot, other candidates for office at the congressional level as well. Every federal office holder is going to be subject to challenges based on their alleged involvement in insurrections, because everyone says, well, insurrection means this. Well, that's in the eye of the beholder. We say there was an insurrection in 2020, except it was in a dozen cities throughout America, trying to destroy the country in the summer of 2020. And the left pretends that it's insurrection to dispute Joe Biden's election under law. Well, between that, those arguments, all bets are off, and everyone's going to be taken off the ballot. And you're going to have fight after fight on this. And, does that mean, what does that mean for the country? It means that we're destabilized again. We are being destabilized by this war against Trump. And it's not about, it is about Trump personally, but we should be excited about it in a negative way, because it's attacking the core structure of our government, our constitutional republic. It relies on a kind of a structure and rules and law, and they think all bets are off, and that politics should take precedence over the rule of law.
Which is always the goal of the Marxist. I think everybody, especially in our audience, has been calling this out. Judicial Watch has obviously been calling this out from a mile away, from 1,000 yards away. Final question for you, Tom. Are any of these trials going to happen before the election? Do you see that happening, or do you think that they will be sort of stuck in the morass of the process, and no one will, Trump will not see really rulings before November 2020?
I think at least one of the trials is going to happen. In the least, now they're hanging all their hopes on Alvin Bragg, the source back prosecutor who's trying to jail Trump for having a settlement agreement with a woman who was accusing him of something. So again, an unprecedented application of the law to try to get Trump. And they're going to get a conviction, I think, before the election. And so whether it makes a difference or not, I don't know.
So the Alvin Bragg case is the one you think is going to go forward.
Yeah, they're just waiting in line. When one gets destroyed, another one pops up. And we're presuming this is the last indictment. There won't be any additional indictments. We're in a crisis, Benny. And what I'm frustrated about is that all of this is fully funded by Congress. Jack Smith is fully funded by Congress. There have been no restrictions or no pushback against New York and Atlanta of Fulton County for violating the civil rights of citizens in those jurisdictions. Full funding. They're getting all the grants. Congress has done nothing to react or to push back against this, specifically the Republican-controlled House.
Incredible.
So they fully fund the border invasion. They're fully funding the effort to turn the country into a one-party state, and I'm tired of it. There's some good people up there, but they aren't showing the leadership necessary to save the republic.
No, and they never do, right? It's always Democrat light. I mean, it's like the House is more like like Congress itself is more like the splits are like 20% are actual Republicans. And the rest of them just kind of like go along to get along with like the talking points they've been given. They live action role play Republicans. But they aren't
recognizes what's going on, Benny. He sees, I see what the Americans are doing. They're trying to put their opposition candidate in jail. They're trying to remove him from the ballot. I know what that's like. That's familiar to me. Very Putin-like.
Records show New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg, this is from Judicial Watch, paid $900 an hour. $900 an hour. Incredible. by us, the
20% of his
taxpayers.
20% of his donations came from Soros.
Remarkable.
Pretty good investment by Soros, huh? He gets to get
Amazing.
a president prosecuted.
Amazing. Why don't we ever, we never play fourth gen warfare. Like we never actually play 3D chess. Like it's so checkers on our side. And
look, if we played checkers, I'd be happy.
Yeah. Okay. So
tic-tac-toe, hopscotch, anything better than just running around chasing our tails.
So final move on the board here, Tom. Donald Trump wins in 2024. What happens to these charges? Can you game theory that for me, please?
He would direct, if I were him, I would direct the Justice Department to shut them down, pull back the charges. He may have to pardon himself. And certainly then he should be personally appointing special prosecutors to investigate the seditious insurrectionist activities by those who tried to jail him. Because this is a rogue operation, and the obstruction of justice we've seen in the Justice Department beginning in 2020 with the protection racket for Biden that continues to this day with the targeting of Trump needs to be exposed by someone who isn't a DOJ guy, but someone who reports to the President of the United States, and he should assert his constitutional authority to enforce the rule of law in that regard. We need Trump special prosecutors, not DOJ special prosecutors.
Yeah. The truth shall set you free, man. I mean, it'd be nice. It'd be nice. I think the country can handle it. I think the country can just handle like the story of what happened here. We could handle the story of Russiagate, right? Russia collusion. Like when that deteriorated and decayed and became such a farce, I think like people can handle it. I think we'll go through the same process. I think this is a brand new.
We kind of already know what happened. It's just a matter of if there are going to be any consequences for it.
Yes, and there were none, right, for Russia collusion.
Yep. And we know what's happening now, and we want consequences for the abuses.
Yes, one of the only places on earth, ladies and gentlemen, that fights, like actually fights, and fights in a strategic way. And it fights like a proper Irish brawler from the turn of the century is Judicial Watch. Ladies and gentlemen, please consider supporting them, their mission. Subscribe to them and follow them on social media, and you will find yourself brought to a different future than you typically are used to with the Republican Party, a future where we actually fight and win a lot of the time. And at the very least, like know which battles to pick. And Tom Fitton, of course, is the president of Judicial Watch, and we thank him for his work and for fighting, Tom. Godspeed.
Thank you for the good word.
Ladies and gentlemen, man, I love the bookers on this show. We got these great producers. We got ALX, ALX, Robbie rolling up, learning the old ALX ways. It's like incredible. We call him ALX AI because he's able to like actually book guests like a week ahead of time. And he knows exactly like Tom Fitton's like the perfect guy for this show. I don't consider myself a wise man, especially on legal issues. And so it's wonderful to like hear from Tom, like about what's actually going on. Right. ALX AI too. ALX is close to his final form. He tried on the Apple Vision Pro goggles. We'll get you that image in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. I don't need Apple Vision Pro. I don't need globalist goggles strapped to my face to tell me to eat the bugs and live in the pod. Ladies and gentlemen, I got all I need for my blackout coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the blackout coffee right here. Okay, this is what ALX needs. That's what ALX needs every single morning. Okay, to get going. I got all I need right here. Blackout coffee gives me the energy, the caffeine, the motivation, and the capacity to fight the commies, and that's really what we all need, isn't it? And I know ALX is probably doing plenty of commie fighting in his Apple Vision Pro. But if you wish to get that sweet black juice pumped directly into your vein, have the energy to fight the communists with me, I encourage you to go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny to get 20% off your first order. Check out the gear section too while you're there. It's totally badass. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Be awake. not woke. Oh, yeah, baby. Today, Mayorkas impeachment articles are headed to the floor vote for Rules Committee to advance. We will see if our treacherous and traitorous Republican majority, which actually is very interesting, changed my thought process. There are 545 members of Congress. Check my math there, I think. And there was a tweet out that's like, actually, it's like 70%. We say that Republicans own, we say that that the House and the Senate are split. Nope. It's more like 70% of those people are Democrats. Some of them just live action role play as Republicans. So we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see if they come through. Okay? We'll see. Here we go. House Rules Committee approved both articles of impeachment Republican lawmakers filed against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, teeing up a historic House floor vote that could happen on Tuesday. So, that's today. We'll see. The passage through the committee marked up the final hurdle House GOP had to clear and reach the vote. There are some people who are saying that they will vote no. They're obviously the cucks who are looking for CNN contracts. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the one who brought these articles. Ken Buck is the person who is saying, I am Ken Cuck, in fact, and not Ken Buck. I've changed my name. And Ken Buck will immediately run down to Fulton County, Georgia, to get on Big Fanny's team, ladies and gentlemen, after leaving the House. So we've already lost one vote. The Republican majority is so thin. We'll see what happens. But the impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas is at hand, and I suppose I'm super happy that this is happening. How do you even defend this guy? He should be charged with 10 million counts of human trafficking. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we shall effort for on our program. The only reason that we have a program is you. We care deeply about this audience. We love you. And we wish to have a further connection with you. Not Big Fanny style, okay? I'm talking Benny Brigade style. You should go to bennyjohnson.com/brigade. You should hop on there and you should join the Benny Brigade. For less than the cost of a Happy Meal from McDonald's, and for much better for you, by the way, joining the Benny Brigade gets you exclusive access to our show, gets you the capacity to ask questions of our guests, interact directly with us, and most importantly, keeps us independent, free. One of the very few shows out there that's actually independent and isn't owned by a corporate oligarchy that can tell us what to do or who to do if you're Fani Willis. Ladies and gentlemen, the Benny Brigade keychain is made right here in America. When you sign up for the Benny Brigade, we will ship you one, and it is so awesome. Made out of sweet American leather, made by veterans. And we employ veterans, actually, for this purpose. Leathersmiths, that awesome. We do our best to actually keep America working. And so, while you're there, you can also check out our new merch store, shop.bennyjohnson.com. Got some sweet swag there, along with the my all-time favorite, the tumbler, with the Salty Army tank on it, with the salt shaker in the front. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We are uplifted by the work that we are doing, uplifted by this audience. We wish to uplift you, of course, every single show. Some shows are pretty depressing. Yesterday's show, see how treacherous, how traitorous the Republicans are. I guess that bill's going down in flames now because of you and me. And so there's something to hang your hat on, right? Ladies and gentlemen, continue marching forward. Learn from the scriptures about what it means to actually have a heart that beats, that marches to a very different tune than this world wants you to march to. Romans 15. For whatever was written in former days was written for our instruction, that through endurance and through the encouragement of the scriptures, we will have hope. Endurance, encouragement. Why do you endure? I mean, the pretext of this verse is you will suffer. The earth is suffering because we live in a sunken place and a fallen place. So endurance means you must endure through suffering. You don't endure through, massage or whatever. Like, you endure through suffering. You don't endure through tiptoeing through the tootsies, toesies, posies. I don't really know flowers. Ladies and gentlemen, you endure through hard times. We are encouraged through the scriptures, and we have hope. We march, ladies and gentlemen. We march onward. We fight. And it's your boy Benny, fighting right alongside you. This is The Benny Show. See ya.